cannot access them.
Police are issuing a public warning to parents to steer their children clear of a major stash of candy-like products infused with pot. With less than a month before the first pot shops open in Ontario, police have been cracking down on black market products. York Police seized $1.7 million worth of illegal cannabis and edibles. Farmer Morelli joins us from Kensington Market now. And Farah, police carried out the search warrant there, but this started with a chase all the way up in Vaughan.
That's right. It was a multi-jurisdictional chase here, Dwight. It started with a tip that someone was trafficking drugs. That led police to a warehouse at Steele's in Keele. But it culminated here at the Lit Paper and Glass store on Baldwin here in Kensington Market. Police say while it's a paraphernalia storefront in the front, in the back, a convenience store-like dispensary was operating, selling cannabis as well as edibles. A sign that they say that the black market for edibles is still booming.
Sugar-coated gummy bears and bags of cotton candy. No, this is not inventory from your neighborhood candy store.
It's one of the probably the largest seizure that we've seen of edible products in York region. And what was striking with them is just how much they look like candy. Cotton candy, lollipops, chocolate bars, and all packaged looking just like candy.
In total, $1.7 million worth of cannabis and edible products were seized, a sign police say that the black market for edibles is flourishing.
When the federal government legalized marijuana under the Cannabis Act last year, it only legalized fresh and dried cannabis, cannabis oils, and plants and seeds for cultivation. That means technically edibles are still illegal. But that's set to change later this year. The Cannabis Act is expected to be amended in October to include edibles and other products.
In just a few weeks, provincially licensed marijuana storefronts are set to open, but they won't have any edibles.
So what are these?
Well, these here are called Buds and Bolts, and this is an infused snack mix. Here it's got a hybrid strain in it.
Amy Brown is a cannabis advocate and a well-known cannabis baking instructor.
Edibles are everywhere. Although they are still not legal, the black market is saturated with edibles, and because of the fact that the legal market doesn't have edibles.
Brown says the race is on in the edibles industry to pair with licensed producers, but they'll have to follow Health Canada's proposed regulations.
The packaging on this as well, you'll see that it's colorful. It's got a little happy little guy on it. This is completely also against the proposed regulations because this appeals to kids. There's a little cartoon on there and the colors. There's proposed regulations, but there's nothing set in stone yet. So a lot of companies are trying to get their branding out and get their name out there in the general public before it's legalized, so that when it is, people will know of their product and they'll be able to look for them in the legal market.
With that, don't expect these black market products to disappear anytime soon.
Now, interestingly, Dwight, as we pulled in here, we realized that people were once again coming and going from this shop. It appears it has reopened and is back in business. But when we're talking about legal storefronts where you'll be able to purchase marijuana, we know that this week the province granted 3 licenses across Ontario for places that can actually sell marijuana products with a storefront legally. One of them is going to be on Queen West here in Toronto, the Honeypot Cannabis Co. But of course, no edibles will be for sale.
Yeah, good warning for parents tonight. Thank you for that, Farah. And a man is fighting for his life in hospital tonight after being shot multiple times. It happened shortly after midnight at a gas station near Eglinton and Avenue Road. Police said a vehicle drove into the gas station and a man fired at the victim, hitting him multiple times. The victim was inside a Jeep parked at a gas pump at the time. Police spent the morning combing through the crime scene. They were making moles of evidence scattered on the ground. Police are asking anyone who may have witnessed the shooting to come forward.
At this point, in my opinion, it's going to be a long night for the residents, so Toronto Fire does apologize for that. But unfortunately, with our situation, we have to contain the street, and it's also a very slippery hazard as well.
A long night indeed, especially for fire crews. The 6-alarm blaze started in an unoccupied house in the Lawrence Park area around 7:30 last night. The fire began in the basement of the 500-square-foot home on Rochester Avenue. It was under construction, which made it dangerous for crews to go inside in case building material collapsed on them. The fire chief gave an update this afternoon, and he was joined by Mayor Tory.
We are still actively fighting. There's still what we call hotspots or some flare-ups We're actually in discussion now about whether we're going to need to engage heavy equipment. We may need to take part of the building apart to fully suppress it.
I just want to say thank you to the fire service and the men and women who served, all of them. There's a lot of firefighters when you added it all up over the course of 15 or 18 hours.
The freezing temperatures and icy surfaces also hampered efforts to knock the fire down. No word yet on the cause.
After over 10 years, the next step in revamping the so-called Spaghetti Junction is happening this weekend. The bridge behind me there, that's coming down. Coming up, I'll tell you what the future of the 6 Points neighborhood will look like.
We heard Colette's voice yesterday. We were worried about her being in today. She's sick. I got a bit of the grovellies, Nick, but hopefully the warm-up coming this weekend is going to help.
Yeah, I hope so, Dwight. Although you're going to have to enjoy the sunshine on Saturday because Sunday we've got a little bit of a mixed bag in the forecast. So some positive news in all of this, but also a little bit of winter weather into the end of the weekend. Let me get right into it. Today we didn't see any of it. Beautiful day, temperatures around -1 degree and sunshine right across the board. We are tracking a system, though, that's going to form in Colorado, and as it does, it's going to bring with it a bit of a mixed bag for the weekend. So Saturday looks okay, but Saturday night into Sunday, we've got the risk for some freezing rain here, and that comes late tomorrow night, around 11 p.m. to midnight or so. And then as we get into this warm sector here, we're looking at rain, about 15 to 25 millimeters of rain in the forecast. And with it, some warmer temperatures as well, perhaps to help your throat out there. And then, very quickly, though, we get back into the winter weather with a few flurries on the backside of this and some very windy conditions as well. Environment Canada issuing special weather statements right across the region. Freezing rain possible in some areas across the region tomorrow night, 15 to 25 millimeters of rain, snow to the north, and gusty winds on Sunday as well. -13 tonight, tomorrow 1 degree, beautiful day in the forecast, but as I said, a bit of a mixed bag. We're going to have more details on that coming up in just a bit. Stick around. Dwight.
Thank you, Nick.
You bet.
A judge has rejected SSC Labland's bid to stop a criminal trial against the company. It is facing corruption charges linked to contracts in Libya. The company was hoping for a remediation agreement that would mean making a deal with a prosecutor to avoid going to trial. The Director of Public Prosecution chose to move ahead with a trial in October, and today the court ruled that the appeal was outside its jurisdiction. Only the Attorney General can overturn that decision, and that's at the heart of the scandal currently shaking Parliament Hill. This affair has dominated headlines here in Canada for weeks, but what about around the world? As Dominic Valitis shows us, the international press is now paying attention too, and it's not good news for Trudeau.
Plenty of opinion and comment in the European press. Let's start, though, here in Britain, and lots of focus on what this scandal could mean politically for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. Both the BBC and the Guardian newspaper here have suggested that it could bring them both down in the forthcoming elections. But plenty has also been written about what this means specifically for Trudeau's reputation. The Evening Standard, for example, posits the question, has Golden Boy Justin Trudeau lost his magic touch? Adding that the scandal was tarnishing Canada's Mr. Clean. A similar sentiment from the Financial Times, which said in Trudeau, Canadians were promised a new politics, but instead now faced an old-fashioned scandal. So it is a big deal, and it's getting a lot of coverage here. Earlier, we spoke to John Prideaux from The Economist. Here's his take.
It looks significant sitting where I'm sitting. I mean, it takes quite a lot for a Canadian Prime Minister to make the news when there's so much going on in the world. You know, you've got Trump in the US, Brexit here in London. This has made the news, so it's very much kind of broken through. And I think it looks very bad.
And lots of coverage further afield too. The Dutch newspaper De Telegraaf said for years Trudeau was a political pop star, but now people were wondering if he can even survive this scandal, if he can struggle out of the political quicksand, as it put it. Italy's Corriere della Sera newspaper, meanwhile, suggests the scandal has landed Trudeau in real trouble with both the media and voters. One Swiss-German paper says Trudeau was once considered a progressive bearer of hope, but now his popularity is shrinking fast. So plenty of comment in the European press. I have to say, it is quite hard to find anything positive at all in the coverage. Dominic Velitis, CBC News, London.
I am here to offer an official apology for the federal government's management of tuberculosis in the Arctic.
A day late due to weather, but decades late in general. The Canadian government finally acknowledges an injustice inflicted on Indigenous people. Families were torn apart by tuberculosis. More on how the apology was received coming up. It is International Women's Day, and events are taking place across the city to mark the occasion.
Today, we celebrate the progress we've made, but we must acknowledge that we still have a long way to go. Women or girls still face disproportionately higher rates of violence, greater poverty, including more precarious employment, lower wages, religious persecution, lack of representation in senior and political positions.
An event was held in council chambers to celebrate the day, led by the Toronto Public Service Women's Network. And just a few blocks away, the Minister for Women and Equality, Marion Monsef, was making dreams come true. She handed out the single largest investment in women's organizations in Canadian history. Over 250 projects will receive a total of $100 million over the next 5 years. And the U.S. women's national soccer team marked International Women's Day with a lawsuit. All 28 players are suing the U.S. Soccer Federation, alleging institutionalized gender discrimination. The team is just 3 months away from defending their title at the Women's World Cup in France. They're looking for equal pay and working conditions, but what will it take to level the playing field for female athletes in Canada? We put that question to a few women who were on a panel at CBC today talking about women in sport.
It's incredibly disappointing and wrong when women and men are not paid the same for the same job. The reality is this comes down to a decision point. Are we going to fix it or not?
If you want to see our women, all women across all sports, not only make the money that they should make, but the recognition that they deserve, then it's up to us to make that difference individual.
It's one thing to say, I support women doing whatever it is that they're doing in sports, but okay, are you watching? Are you reading articles? Are you promoting? It's such a simple word, support, and it's so easy to do.
Yes, it is. Transportation is an industry that's been historically dominated by men, but Metrolinx has set some goals to get more women on board, both in management and out on the rails. On this International Women's Day, Talia Ritchie speaks to those trailblazing women about some of the challenges they face and why they love their jobs.
I was clearly walking into a man's world, a boys' club. There weren't many women there.
Reflecting on the transportation industry 30 years ago, Tracy Harris says a lot has changed.
There were no women's facilities, so we progressed and got over that obstacle. And men also looked at me like I'm going to have to do your job. And at some point I thought, well, maybe they're right.
From second-guessing her skills to teaching them, Harris is now a training supervisor with Bombardier Transportation, working with Metrolinx.
I interrupted their workplace. I interrupted Sunshine Girl posters had to come down. I do feel that I've paved a small path for women in this industry.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you do and why you love it?
I've been a locomotive engineer for almost 6 years. I've been employed with Bombardier for 11. I started out as a conductor, and we get on the train and we go where we're supposed to go depending on what our schedule is and what line I'm running on. My day flies by. I do 90 stops in one day, back and forth from Oshawa to Aldershot.
Davies is passionate about her role, but she's had her share of obstacles too.
I was put in a position when I was throwing my very first switch, and I didn't get any tips or pointers, and I struggled to get it done. And I could hear them kind of cackling, oh yeah, you're not strong enough. And I'm like, really? Watch me.
Currently, women make up 32% of the workforce at Metrolinx and 33% of management. In addition to recruiting more women in rail operations, part of their goal is to increase the number of women in management positions to 50% by 2021.
We have a larger predominance of women using the GO system than men, not significantly, but more. So in order to understand the needs of our customers and to meet those needs, we have to better understand them. And what better way than to have the people working in our system being women?
There's still some work to be done, but these women say they're also proud of the progress that's been made.
I've actually asked women, do they feel they're walking into a man's workplace, or are they just walking into a workplace? And women, I'm proud to say, are saying now that they're walking into a workplace.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
From rails to rocket ships, after the break, where are we going? I say the moon. Well, not actually the moon. One you can see up close for yourself right here in Toronto.
You get to see the moon from a different perspective from above as the visitor transforms into almost like a star or a satellite orbiting the moon.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
The Dragon has landed. A capsule from Elon Musk's SpaceX splashed down in the Atlantic right on time. The return of the Crew Dragon capsule ends a 7-day mission to the International Space Station. A SpaceX rocket launched the capsule last Saturday. The Crew Dragon spent 5 days at the space station, dropping off 180 kilograms of test equipment before flying itself back to Earth. The only passengers were a dummy covered in sensors and a stuffed toy of the Earth. SpaceX is planning a crewed space flight in June. This is the 50th anniversary of Neil Armstrong's famous moonwalk, and to commemorate it, the Aga Khan Museum is opening a new exhibit about the moon and the role it has played in many cultures throughout our history. Mike Wise joins us now. And Mike, you got a sneak peek at that impressive sculpture at the center of the exhibit.
It certainly is, Dwight. It is 5 meters in diameter, and I wanted to do it justice and find a way to new way to capture it in scope. We do have a 3D VR version of this story I'm going to tell you about in a second. But first, here's my discussion with the curator of the exhibit about what she hopes people will take from it.
Hi, my name is Christiane Gruber. I'm a professor of Islamic art at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, as well as the guest curator of The Moon, A Voyage Through Time.
What is it about the moon that connects us to everything?
I think that the moon has played a pivotal role in the human imaginary since time immemorial across all world cultures. So we all look up to it, we're all illuminated by it, and it breaks the terror of darkness in the night. So for us, it's a symbol of hope, and we project our desires onto it.
Tell me about the sculpture behind us.
The sculpture behind us is a pendant depiction of the moon by the British artist Luke Jerram. The object is about 80 kilos. It's made out of nylon, and on its surface we have a print of a photograph of the lunar surface that Luke Jerram received from the Astrogeological Center in Flagstaff, Arizona. So it's a proportional representation of the moon. But what I really like about this show is you get to see the moon from a different perspective from above as the visitor transforms into almost like a star or a satellite orbiting the moon. So in a way the dynamic is changed a little bit, and humans get to see the moon in an entirely different perspective.
What do you hope people get out of seeing this?
We hope that they will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the lunar landing in 1969. So for us, it's a way of commemorating not only the history of the moon in our own imagination, but our own scientific adventures and explorations across time that have accelerated in the contemporary period.
Now, that sculpture is about one part of the show. It also delves into the moon's connections to ancient history, Roman goddesses, science, popular culture, and of course its key role in Islam. It opens tomorrow at the Aga Khan Museum, and it runs until August 18th.
And Mike, you did a lot more with this story than what we just saw, and it probably has something to do with what you're holding in your hand.
Yeah, a couple things here. I actually shot the story on a 3D virtual reality camera, and what we showed you there is but a flat slice of the full story I put together. Of course, to experience the full thing, you'll need one of these or perhaps a Google Cardboard headset here. If you want to learn more about this exhibit, it makes you feel like you're actually standing beside that sculpture, looking at it in 3D. Now, you can see extended versions of this story on our CBC Toronto Facebook page, coming soon to our YouTube channel. You can pan around and explore this footage in your browser, but if you want that 3D experience, you'll want to watch it with a pair of VR goggles, either a Google Cardboard headset, Gear VR, or an Oculus Go set like this here. We'll have links to all of that to experience it online. Dwight?
I did check out the VR version. Definitely worth taking a look at. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Stats Canada has released its employment report for February, and it has a surprise for analysts and economists. 56,000 new jobs were created last month. Most were full-time positions. That builds on the more than 66,000 that were added in January. Now, the gains are a bright spot for an economy still clearly in the middle of a downturn. The unemployment rate stayed flat at 5.8%. Experts say there's one industry with a lot of job openings and not enough workers to fill them. The Skilled Trades College of Canada is warning that the shortage is only going to get worse. Greg Ross is at the Home Show where they're promoting jobs in the trades this weekend.
Well, Dwight, they're actually doing a bricklaying demonstration. In fact, they're building a wall right here on the floor of the Intercare Center. This is Miguel right here. How high are you going to go with this wall?
Here, to here, today.
And you'll be able to get this finished today? Yeah. So that's fitting for the story that we're doing. And the reason for that is because this is one of those skilled trades where there's just a lack of people in the industry right now. There's a lot of jobs available, and really it's something they're experiencing throughout the skilled trades industry.
Electrician Chris Diaz is not only showing people what he does for a living, he's giving them a chance to try it for themselves.
What kinds of things are you showing people here?
Well, we're showing people how to strip wire, how to install them in a box, how to install the box into a wall. We can even be a little further out. That's fine.
Is that right?
Don't want to get your hands jammed in.
Diaz is also an instructor at the Skilled Trades College of Canada.
Are there a lot of jobs right now for electricians?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. There's tons of jobs out there. Like I said, I had a class of 14 students just recently graduate from my class, and 8 of them found jobs before school was even done.
Not only are they finding jobs, they're also paying well.
What kind of money can an electrician make?
So electrician or a plumber, any type of tradesperson is looking at between $70,000 and $90,000 a year. And they also have the option of running their own business.
But for some reason, the younger generation seems to be gravitating to other industries like technology.
Why do you think there's that lack of interest there?
Maybe labor intensive in a lot of cases. Whether it's bricklaying or plumbing or physical labor.
This plumbing instructor says if the trend continues, there's going to be a huge shortage of skilled workers in Ontario as the older generation goes into retirement.
Over the next decade, there's going to be a shortage of approximately about 100,000 people, skilled trades workers.
That could mean lots of opportunity for people like Stephanie Brown, a graduate of the Skilled Trades College. But she says there's still a stigma in trades when it comes to hiring women.
I don't see that many women on job sites, and I'm currently the only woman in my company out of about 100 men.
Brown says she applied for 60 jobs before getting an apprenticeship as an electrician.
It's definitely frustrating because you know that yourself, you know that you're capable and you know that you can do it, and it's just about if someone wants to give you the chance to prove yourself.
And it's fitting that today is actually International Women's Day. In fact, Brown's going to be here all weekend encouraging women to consider potential jobs in the skilled trades industry, and they'll probably need Brown to help tear down this wall when they're all said and done. You're literally going to have to tear this thing down, Miguel, when you're finished with it.
Yep.
All that work going to waste. Anyways, Dwight, we'll send it back to you.
You'll want to stay away from Etobicoke's 6 Points neighborhood over the next few days. 2 bridges over Kipling between Dundas and Bloor will be removed. Kelly Ewan is there live for us tonight. And Kelly, that intersection closes in about 30 minutes.
That's right. Now behind me is where Dundas West, Bloor West, and Kipling Avenue converge, also known as the Spaghetti Junction. Now, the area will be closed until 5 a.m. Tuesday. Beginning 7 o'clock tonight, crews will begin work to remove that bridge behind me there. Now, behind that bridge is also another bridge. Both bridges will be demolished over the next few days. Residents are also warned that there will be excessive noise overnight because construction is expected to go on 24 hours a day. But the ones I spoke to today say it's a small inconvenience to pay to finally see this interchange be brought down in place of something more modern and pedestrian friendly. 6 Points resident John Longcar is getting a last look at the Dundas overpass. By next week, it will be a thing of the past. He, for one, is glad.
It would take forever to walk half a kilometer because you had to run across lanes of traffic there are no lights, nothing.
The driver used to get lost all the time. I used to get lost sometimes, even my husband driving, used to get the exit wrong way.
The Dundas and Bloor bridges over Kipling will be demolished over the next few days. A pedestrian-friendly area with more sidewalks and bike lanes is planned. It will take drivers about 35 seconds longer to get through the area during rush hour. But for lifelong resident and city councillor Stephen Holliday, the pros outweigh the cons.
It's always a concerning change when you introduce delay into the system, and it's something that needs to be balanced out with the idea that, navigating the old intersection was not an easy thing, including for drivers. I've taken the ramp that we're standing on many, many times and had to change multiple lanes to try to make my exit for Kipling.
Besides the new road network that will be created when these bridges are leveled, a lot of new land will also be unlocked. Now, one plot has already been earmarked for the Etobicoke Civic Center, but a lot of the other lands will go towards housing development, including many affordable units. A few high-rises have already sprung up. A few weeks ago, the city's design panel was given an update on the project.
Now, what are some of their critiques?
Their real concern was what happens next. Having created this new streets and blocks pattern, they wanted to be sure that the buildings that would get built would not take the form of isolated towers. And what goes along with the housing? It's not just the housing. Will there be opportunities for employment? Will there be shops? Will it be possible for young families to raise kids?
While the road network is on track to be finished by spring 2020, other elements like land development are works in progress.
As a councillor, I welcome people's feedback on what they're seeing, and if they have ideas for improvement as we go along or concerns that they have, make sure that those are sent into the city so that we can do the best job we can in managing this change.
Now, another element of the revitalization of the 6 Points neighborhood here in Etobicoke is the revamping of Kipling Station just south of here. It will become a mobility hub, integrating the subway and TTC buses, as well as the GO Transit buses and trains. Kipling between Bloor and Dundas, again, will be closed beginning tonight at 7 o'clock, and that will last until 5 a.m. on Tuesday. Now, signs have been put in place. Drivers are advised to plan ahead, but delays, they are expected. Dwight.
Yes, because we'll be detouring around all of that. Thank you, Kelda. It's one of the busiest days of the year at Pearson International Airport as travelers head out to their March break destinations. Our Ali Shirsan was at Terminal 3 today, and she got some helpful travel tips.
What are you most looking forward to?
The alcohol, of course.
Before you can spring break, you have to get here without issue. Check your flight times, plan ahead if you plan on parking, and pack your patience.
Especially for a 15-year-old daughter who's like, Mom, Mom, Mom.
Today, chances are you're going to be standing shoulder to shoulder with a lot of people.
We're expecting to welcome 144,000 passengers through our doors today, and that's the equivalent of filling up the Rogers Centre 3 times. Always try and reserve your parking spot online. Check in with your airline 24 hours in advance using their online check-in system. And also our friends at CATSA have a great app. It's called Breeze Through Security. If you ever wondered what you pack in your checked-in baggage or put in on your carry-on, they have the answers in that app. So I'd recommend that you check that out.
Now that you have some tips for stress-free travel, maybe you can start to enjoy the whole experience, like DeAndre here.
Well, there's a early wake-up thing.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you get to go off on a plane and look down and you see all the clouds and all that, and you see how far up you are. And then once you go into this place that sometimes you've never been before, it's so cool because you get to explore something.
Bon voyage. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, YYZ.
A lot of folks flying off to the sun, but Nick, those of us staying home, we're going to get some sun too, no?
Yeah, we absolutely will, Dwight. Today was a great day. I mean, I stepped outside and I didn't want to come indoors. It was -1, what didn't feel like -1. The sun was shining down. There was no wind. It almost felt like spring. Well, we're almost there anyway. But there is a weather system that's on the way that's going to change things a little bit. It is spring-like per se. Special weather statements in effect for the GTA and all of southern Ontario. Now, it starts tomorrow night with the risk of a little bit of freezing rain, but this is a rain event for at least the Golden Horseshoe, 15 to 25 millimeters rain. However, if you have travel plans north of the city, up around Lake Huron, Georgian Bay area in particular, 10+ centimeters of snow in the forecast. The big thing here, too, though, is going to be the winds on Sunday. Now, right now, we're looking at clear skies across the GTA. However, we are tracking a storm system that is developing in Colorado. This is a Colorado low that's going to slide through southern Ontario tomorrow. Now, if we time it out, increasing cloud cover through the later part of the day tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, sunshine across the board. But starting around 11 p.m., we're looking at a band of freezing rain moving through the GTA. Should be fairly short-lived for us. It switches over to rain, and we're looking at a good deal of rain, about 15 to 25 millimeters of rainfall. But then by Sunday, it switches over to flurries on the backside of it and snow squalls up north of the GTA. In terms of rainfall accumulations, roughly speaking, about 15 to 25 millimeters of rain, depending on where you are. The wind's also a big factor here, especially through Sunday morning. So Saturday, they pick up out of the east. By Sunday morning, though, through the south up to about 80 kilometers per hour. And then a westerly wind develops through Sunday afternoon and colder air moves in. Right now, we're sitting at -2 across the GTA with the wind chills. Doesn't feel much worse than that, really. Tonight, we're down to an overnight low of -14, but very light winds in the forecast. Now, through the next 5 days, temperatures tomorrow up to 1 degree, sunshine. Don't forget to switch your clocks forward there Saturday night. Storm system moves through on Sunday, a few lingering flurries on Monday, but the good news in all of this, we do manage to hang on to those plus temperatures in the next week. Dwight.
Yeah, you're not being as negative as you usually are.
I know. It's a
Thanks,
change.
Nick.
It's a nice change.
It is. Ontario's Minister of Seniors and Accessibility, Raymond Cho, is looking at ways to make life more accessible after a scathing report from the province's former Lieutenant Governor. David Onley looked at Ontario's law that has been in place for almost 15 years. He spoke with people across the province who say supports are still woefully lacking. That doesn't just mean infrastructure, but also access to jobs and healthcare. Onley is calling on all provincial ministries to take on the accessibility cause. And to get a better sense of what someone with a disability goes through, Lisa Shing spoke with a YouTuber, Molly Burke, who owns the fact that she's blind in her videos.
Like, at first it was weird because I was so used to traditional media and looking slightly off camera to the interviewer's face. But now I'm like, but it's so much less personal to not look at the camera. Are you sure you don't want me to look? Hey guys, it's Molly here again for another video.
Ready to jump off a cliff? Are you ever ready to jump off a cliff?
Till I was 14 and in grade 8, the disease was kind of triggered and I lost pretty much the majority of my vision to what I have now.
This is Molly Burke. She's a YouTuber with close to 2 million subscribers. Her videos are all about living life as someone who is blind.
How much of a difference does technology make in your life?
I always say I am very lucky to be a blind person in the 21st century. I am only disabled by what is not accessible. So when something like my phone has a voice program that I can use. I'm not disabled because I can text my friends.
What do you think is, I guess, the role of the government to support people who need a little more accessibility?
It's very hard to cultivate young disabled people to become leaders and contributing members to society when we aren't giving them the opportunities and creating accessible spaces for them.
Well, this braille is very not well placed then. I mean, like, how the hell would you supposed to find that? This isn't gonna make you realize what it's like to be blind, but it's gonna give you a little bit of an experience of what it's like to be missing one of your senses for a short period of time. Like, if you just wanna like that,
It feels a little more secure.
that's how I always choose to do it. It's like a little more intimate and cozy than just grabbing the elbow, but now you can probably feel that I took a step down. So my body is telling you
to take a
step down. And if I get up, bon chien.
Whew.
I know.
This is not easy.
If you're in like a stiletto, it's definitely not easy.
How? How is that possible?
And then we have a door in front of us. Door handles are always different. There's no like set, it's push, it's pull, it's a lever, it's a pull bar. You're always kind of feeling around to find it.
How do you navigate crowds then?
It's all a combination of gallop and using my ears and my spatial awareness. So I'm very in tune with what I'm listening to. It's not that my senses have magically heightened like a superhero.
You get a lot of questions about that, I assume.
Yes, but it's that I'm in tune with it.
Okay.
Come on, gallop.
Yep. I'm hearing people walking by. Totally bumped into someone.
Yeah, that people love to do that.
Or they bumped into me, I don't know.
Frankly, you're the blindfolded one, they bumped into you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. How is wintertime different for you?
It is the worst. I think for anybody with a disability, I mean, we all struggle in winter.
Yeah.
But when you have a disability especially, navigation becomes so much more difficult if sidewalks aren't cleared properly. Because even for my guide dog, everything just looks white. There's ice that he can't see.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Molly. I really appreciate you taking me on the little route and talking to me about your experiences.
Oh, thank you so much. This is awesome.
She was awesome. Molly Burke has also taken out other people blindfolded, from having coffee to skydiving, to give them a taste of what her life is like. The board of Hydro One has finally bowed to pressure from the Ford government. Their next CEO will not be getting the more than $1.5 million in compensation. Other executives' compensation will be capped at 75% of the CEO's. Hydro One and the government had been at loggerheads over executive compensation. The province had rejected an earlier plan that would have capped the CEO's compensation at nearly $2.8 million. The board argued it would be difficult to recruit qualified executives for anything less.
Each one of these cases should never have happened and is heartbreaking.
And it was government policy, including ripping Inuit families apart through forced relocation. Prime Minister Trudeau apologized today in a Cali read for what he called colonial mistreatment of Indigenous peoples with tuberculosis. We will have that story for you next.
This weather update is brought to you by Fairmont Le Chateau Frontenac, the best location for your next spring break getaway in Quebec City.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in Iqaluit to officially acknowledge an injustice inflicted on Indigenous people. This time, it's Inuit and the callous way authorities dealt with members of their community who had tuberculosis. Many were sent south for treatment but never returned. Jordan Koenig explains.
Inuit across the north have been waiting for decades to hear these words.
To the people who were sent south, we are sorry. We are sorry for forcing you from your families, for not showing you the respect and care you deserved. We are sorry for your pain. To the people whose loved ones were taken away, we are sorry.
From the 1940s till the 1960s, Inuit were taken from their homes and families south for TB treatment. Many never returned up to today. Their loved ones still don't know where they are buried. The Prime Minister announced the Nanilabut Initiative, a database to find those graves. But Alice Ipkangnek of Rankin Inlet says some may never find their loved ones' bodies. Ipkangnek says the nurses did whatever they wanted with the patients. They would either throw their bodies somewhere deep underground or their bodies were cremated. Why? I don't understand why they did that. I used to think that maybe their infections from TB was too great to handle, so they burnt their bodies, and maybe they put the less infectious ones underground without putting a cross on their burials. There were counselors in the room to help people with their painful memories as they remember what they lost and suffered for so many years. Some Inuit that I spoke to say Prime Minister coming in person to apologize was important so that they can move forward for all the wrongdoings of the federal government. Jordan Kunni, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Now, during the event, the Prime Minister faced questions about the SNC Lavalin affair, but Nathan Obed stepped in, and here's what he had to say.
The fact that media pass right by the people whose human rights abuses were not told by the media for decades to other stories of the day is still a reflection on the work that needs to happen on reconciliation.
Obed said he hopes in the future more respect is given to the people who deserve to have their stories told.
War is a universal language. I know a renegade soldier when I see one.
It's the first Marvel superhero film with a female lead. Captain Marvel is making her mark on International Women's Day. Eli Glasner joins us after the break with his review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
So, Skrulls are the bad guys. And you're a Kree, a race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
Oscar winner Brie Larson went from being trapped in a room to facing off against King Kong. Now she's taking on perhaps her biggest role yet, Captain Marvel. It is the first female-led film for Marvel Studios. Is Larson the captain we need right now? Eli is here with his review. There's a lot riding on this film. Let's take it from the beginning. Where does it start?
All right, there's a lot to cover, so get out your pencils at home. When we first see Brie Larson, she is Veers. Veers is an elite member of Star Force, which is on the homeworld Hala, which is part of the Kree alien race. The Kree are an advanced civilization who are battling the Skrulls. What are the Skrulls? You might be wondering. Skrulls are shapeshifters. You saw one of the grannies in action just a minute ago. So they're battling the Skrulls, but, well, Veers has another battle. She's getting these flashbacks. There's Granny again. She's getting these flashbacks of another life on Earth as Carol. So let's give Granny a rest and take a look at that flashback.
I keep having these memories. I see flashes. I think I had a life here. But I can't tell if it's real.
Oh, all right, so is she Veers? Is she Carol? She's not quite sure. And then on the run from the Skrulls, she crashes into Earth, lands in a blockbuster video. My heart just skipped a beat. Yes, it's 1995. People still rent movies. No Doubt is on the radio with TLC. This is kind of a period piece, but that's where we meet Samuel L. Jackson. But you'll see shockingly younger Samuel L. Jackson. They did this digital de-aging. They took 24 years off his face. So here is Veers or Carol, we don't know who she is, meeting Samuel L. Jackson. Now, they both might be shapeshifters, so they're kind of quizzing each other. Take a look.
Been riding the desk for the past 6 years, trying to figure out where our future enemies are coming from. Never occurred to me they would be coming from above.
Name a detail so bizarre a Skrull could never fabricate it.
A toast is cut diagonally, I can't eat it. You didn't need that, did you?
No, I didn't, but I enjoyed it.
They have such great chemistry. You might have seen that video where they were singing Ariana Grande, so they're friends in real life, and you can tell that in the movie.
Brie Larson, Oscar winner. She's got the acting chops, but does she have the stuff to be a hero, Eli?
I mean, she has the stuff. She's been doing the training. She's got the moves, but more than that, it's the attitude. I mean, you see her fighting the Skrulls. She gets knocked back down, but then she gets back up, and she'll give them a look that says, let's go, another round. So that's what you want for this character.
The look there.
There you go, right? That sense of determination. Now, she has a lot to battle here. The script is kind of muddled. The whole identity crisis, who is she, what is she? That hurts the momentum as the movie continues. And then there's just how important this is, right? It's a first film for a female-led picture for Marvel Studios. We have a female co-director, composer, screenwriter. So what is there in here to tell a woman's story? Well, interesting. Again and again, what we hear is, Carol, control yourself. Carol, control your emotions. Don't let your emotions get the better of you. Now, I wondered, is this kind of a woman thing? Is this about that male-female dynamic? But I'm not a woman. So I asked someone who is. Let me show you a picture. This is Yolanda Machado, a great critic that I know from Los Angeles. She went to the premiere with her 11-year-old daughter, and so I wanted to test this theory. I asked her, what do you think? Did that resonate with you? Take a look.
I kind of got a bit of that, in that it was like an interesting...
Definitely.
Yeah?
Everything I saw, I was like, I pictured some of my old bosses saying things like that to me, or, God, on the internet. That's what I get told, like, I'm allowed to be emotional. I'm a human.
Right.
It's so great, and just like right now in real life, Brie Larson is fighting the trolls on Rotten Tomatoes. In the movie, Captain Marvel has that moment where she kind of realizes, those emotions, it's not a bad thing. Like, that's really part of her power, and then the movie goes to another level.
All right. Now, my wife says I watched the movie like I'm in it because of all the action. And you saw me earlier with Grandma. How about the action in this? It is a hero flick, after all.
It's a hero flick, but here's the thing. Since Iron Man, this is now the 21st Marvel movie they've made. and they're starting to all look the same effects, the same lighting. Like, why go to all the trouble of picking interesting directors like Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden if you just have them overwhelmed by the special effects? And can I just say, can we have a moratorium on fighting on train sequences? You know, like, I get it, you're running on the train, it looks cool. Oh no, here comes the tunnel, what are you gonna do? But I had the same feeling when I watched it in Spider-Man 2, and Avengers Age of Ultron, and a little movie called The French Connection. So a lack of originality. All in all, for a great hero, this is a good start and someone I think we'll be seeing a lot more of. So that's my hint. Stay through the end credits, because there's stuff to watch. 3.5 stars out of 5.
Thanks, Eli.
You're welcome.
I love Grandma, man. That was really
she's tough.
Not just about green beer, but that's a fun part of it. The St. Patrick's Day Parade is just 2 days away. Takes place on Sunday, starting at the corner of Bloor and St. George, then heading east on Bloor, then south on Yonge, turning west onto Queen, finishing at Nathan Phillips Square. It all starts at noon, which will be earlier than it feels. Remember, clocks go back an hour overnight Saturday. And I think we're going to have some wet weather on Sunday,
Yes,
so noon
wet
parade.
weather. Okay, yeah, I think, I'm loving the hats. I don't know how many of them are going to make it through the parade.
Well, they need some green umbrellas too?
Yeah,
Okay,
they're going to
that's
need the
what you're saying.
umbrellas and then the winds as well. They're going to pick up. So, I mean, at least we're not talking about a snowstorm here, guys. But at the same time, it is some wet weather. It's also some very windy weather as well. Tonight looks pretty good. We've got clear skies, minus 14 degrees. Tomorrow, 1 degree and sunshine. But then we've got this system rolling through. Environment Canada issuing special weather statement for that storm system. A little bit of freezing rain tomorrow evening, but the rainfall comes in tomorrow night into Sunday about noon, 15 to 25 millimeters of rain and wind gusts to about 80 kilometers per hour. That's what I mean with the hats there, too.
Maybe the luck of our Irish friends may change that weather pattern a little bit.
I'd
We
like
hope
to
so
be
too.
wrong on this one. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that, Nick. That's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you back here Monday at 6. Happy International Women's Day.